When your time comes, don't postpone it. When others doubt it out, you don't condone it.
Hello, today is another time on Indigenous Hands, the Indigenous Voices, brought to you by Save the Deaf and Endangered Languages Initiative. And I am so glad to welcome you to another episode, which is a continuation of our discussion in Nigeria. And I'm glad to announce to you that we are very quickly approaching our conference that is scheduled to come in January 7th and 8th, 2021. The theme of our conference is Indigenous Hands and Voices of African Identity. If you have not obtained your ticket, watch on the screen. You are going to see the link to obtain your ticket. You can obtain that on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook channel, on our Twitter handle, or Instagram. So obtain your ticket and don't miss the conference. All right, don't go anywhere. We are just started.
Now is my time to shine. When your time comes, don't postpone it. When others doubt it out, you don't condone it. Truth be told, yourself is your...
In today's series, I am still dwelling on Nigeria and the Nigerian deaf community and the sign languages in Nigeria. But we are going to be drifting a little bit to discuss one salient topic, one important issue, which is deaf education. And I'm going to be looking at it across Africa, but using Nigeria as a case study. The case against deaf education in Africa, that is the topic of my discussion, and I'm going to be looking at this topic for a few weeks coming. I want to start by acknowledging the fact that everybody working in the deaf community in Africa knows that late Dr. Andrew Foster championed the development of deaf education in many African countries. And he began deaf education in many of these African countries. But unlike other African countries, he didn't start deaf education in Nigeria. Deaf education had begun in Nigeria before Dr. Andrew Foster arrived in Nigeria around the 1956, before Dr. Foster arrived in 1960. There is also no disputing the amount of work Reverend Dr. Foster put in towards the development of deaf education in Africa in general. Nobody doubts that. But up to today, after the work of Andrew Foster ended, many African countries do not have a deaf education system that we can be proud of. And I'm going to be looking at this from the country Nigeria, and we will be, x-raying the deaf education system in Nigeria. Eleweke, Agbola, and Gutan 2015. These are deaf scholars. They, in their work, highlighted a number of issues that are still posing challenge to deaf education in Africa, using Nigeria as a case study. And these highlighted issues are the issues we are going to be looking at, and we are going to be incorporating the knowledge we have gathered so far from our own field works. So it is an open secret that although there are many deaf schools that have developed or that have been established by virtue of the increasing awareness that has been driven towards the education of deaf children, it is no doubt that many countries have established some deaf schools But the problem is, what is going on in those deaf schools? And we are going to be relating this to the issue of indigenous sign languages, or lack of them in our education system for the deaf children. And some of these items that these authors highlighted, Eleweke, Agbola, and Gutang, 2015, they include absence of legislation, lack of a funding structure, lack of effective inclusion program, absence of early intervention program and early identification program, inadequate personnel training programs, and lack of facilities. These are the challenges that Eleweke, Agbola, and Gutang 2015 identified in their work. Now, these are not strange items, not for us who have been visiting a whole lot of deaf schools, especially in Nigeria, since 2015, even in fact 2014. Not for what we have also read in literature across different African countries. And we will be taking these items one after the other to look at how much role they play in deaf education. So many scholars, both deaf and hearing, working in African deaf communities, agree to the fact that deaf education in Africa still has little to be desired. And I would like you not to miss any any episode in this series, as we're going to be touching very important issues that concern the education of deaf children in Africa, using Nigeria as a case study, but touching some other African countries. So I'm going to be looking at absence of legislation, and I want to just touch it as an issue that, possibly touches across African governments in different countries. Legislation has little or nothing for deaf children and their education. It has little or nothing. I have discussed in this program in the far back the legislation covering deaf education and what the Constitution says about it. In the next week, I'm going to read it again for us, and that is going to form a kind of foundation to what I'm going to talk about on legislation. So today, I just wanted us to understand that I'm going to be dealing with deaf education vis-a-vis the role of language, indigenous language, and all that in deaf education in Africa, using Nigeria as a case study. I know you are not going to miss any. Please do not. And invite your friends and families to the next series. And please go ahead and share our videos to as many as it will benefit. I'm glad to come back after a short break that we had on our International Volunteer Day program. The preparation and everything was a little bit cumbersome, and I know you've been able to watch our video. So keep sharing our videos, keep liking our videos, and keep supporting the program Indigenous Hands, the Indigenous Voices. I'm gonna see you next week. Bye.